You're going to love this interview. Jude, we're so excited to be with you finally. Can you hear me and can we hear you?
I can, loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I promised them there was going to be a good Irish accent here, and you're delivering. It's great.
And you weren't wrong, and is my screen jumpy or twitchy or anything?
No, it's a little bit fuzzy around the outside, but we're good. So, Jude, I'm so excited. I got to start by saying thank you because you were so patient. You were scheduled to be on right as this whole COVID thing happened and everything went cattywampus and we didn't get you on, and you were very good natured about it. So thrilled that you are here. Jude, I want to talk with you about you and most especially about this book that you have out that's just been out since the beginning of April. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell our viewers what the name of this book is, and give us the elevator pitch, the short paragraph about what it's about, and tell us where we can get it. And then I want to ask a bunch of questions.
Well, I happen to have it here. The title of my book is Why Does Daddy Always Look So Sad? And my elevator pitch is I am autistic myself, and I went through mainstream school as an autistic child. I grew up, became a social worker, and then became a dad. And being autistic was something that I thought I'd left behind in my childhood. And it was whenever my son asked my mother, his grandmother, why does daddy always look so sad, that I had to go on a self-acceptance and self-love journey. My book's available on all major online retailers, Amazon, Book Depository, Barnes & Noble, Simon & Schuster, on ebook, audio, and paperback format.
So thank you. That was wonderful and very concise. And I got to say, Jude, this book really fills a need. There are only a couple of books out there that are that address in any way being on the autism spectrum and being a dad. And most of them are from people that are significantly older than you. And so I really see that this fills a need. And for any parent that's out there that, I'm going to be honest, Jude, I think that a lot of times as parents, and I almost want to talk to your mom, I got to say, because we're constantly we wish that we could get inside the heads of our kids and know what they're thinking and why they're reacting the way that they are. And what you've done in your book is you really laid open your head for us. And we get to be with you as you think through every step of everything, down to the small. Like, I really was amazed, Jude, at the detail with which you gave us how you felt about everything. Have people been saying to you that this book is just like to the bone honest?
Yeah, well, like whenever I've been reading back on the Amazon and Goodreads reviews, that a lot of people have said that they can identify with their children, which is a lovely thing to hear, because I know as an autistic person, I've gone through the whole journey of not being understood, and people asking me questions and sort of almost being cast aside. I mean, I want to shed some light as in, why is Jude Morrow the way he is? And I know I'm not like every single autistic person in the world, but I mean, there's a lot of kind of common ground that a lot of autistic people have, and I hope with my book people can understand that.
Yeah, it was so fascinating. I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of when I was reading The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night that we got, but that was a character, a fictionalized character that an author who was not on the spectrum was writing. And then to have it come from you, and it was real and your own experience, it was very exciting to me to read and totally get inside your head. And you give us a little bit of a background in the beginning of the book about what your experience was like as a kid, because I think people look at you, Jude, and they go, I don't see any challenges here. You're very expressive. You're a very intelligent, erudite young man, and you're a social worker. You have a job, you have a life. So I think people would go, well, where are the challenges? And from reading the book, it seems like there was a period of time where you also were saying that. You were like, I've got this all figured out. Is that correct?
Yeah, I thought by the time I had finished university that being autistic was something that I had left behind in childhood. I had nothing more to do with it. And I'd done really well up to I was 21, 22 years of age. And whenever I found out that Ethan was coming along, the sort of planning, preparing, I need to know everything that's going to happen in the future. And this almost obsessive nature for planning, I needed to know everything and anything as soon as I could. The unknown was something I just couldn't deal with. And it caused me over time to alienate absolutely everybody. But even then, I never wanted to consider that there was still unfinished business, and accepting the fact that I was autistic and would be for the rest of my life.
And I'm curious because you detail in the book about this obsession that once you knew that the baby was coming, that you, like all of these things were going on in your head, and you detail them so that we're right there with you seeing. And I just so appreciated that your mom was trying to help you to deal with all of it, but it wasn't something you could stop. But what was yeah, go ahead.
I mean, with my mother would probably love to be inside my head as much as anybody. And I suppose a lot of people would ask me the same as you, but my mommy gets a lot of interview requests as well. I mean, she doesn't. She stays out of the public eye because she would only really have one answer for advice or guidance, and it is, prepare your autistic child to be an autistic adult, because there was no way she wanted me living under her roof forever. So right. She taught me to be independent, to do my own thing, to drive a car, to look for jobs, study, and everything. Just nothing too outside of any parent with any child, really.
And you give a lot of praise to your parents for how you say that you could not have gotten through a lot of what you went through if it hadn't been for them, which I so appreciate. But you also were unrelenting, man. You weren't going to let anything go. I think that you're somebody who is really driven, Jude. Like when you decide you're going to do something, you do it. The whole thing with you running the race, I was like pulling my hair out and going, oh my gosh. I don't want to give it away, but people need to read your story. So, but what was particularly interesting to me, Jude, was the journey that you had to go on to get to the self-acceptance. Can you talk a little bit about that with our viewers, about this, the shift from being somebody who was in denial about who you were to getting to the point where you not only were not in denial, but that you accept and love yourself the way you are? How did that happen, and what is that like now?
Well, whenever around that time, around the time when I'd taken up marathon running in the book, there did come a stage where I did have a cheesy, cliched fork in the road, and that I had a choice, and it was to continue the destructive denial, because whenever I had done marathon running, I hadn't seen my son Ethan pretty much in a whole year, or not an awful lot, and I needed to build my relationship with him. And it was so clear that I had so many scars from my childhood that deeply affected me into adulthood. The being different, the having a classroom assistant with me all the time, the not being invited to birthday parties, the being the child that no teacher wanted to teach, like all these things over time deeply impacted my self-esteem, my self-worth. And I mean, that's the way I looked at my life then. But whenever I look back over it, as like through this book, like everything that I've written down in it, it's just really been one victory after another. And it was just changing that lens and my perspective, and coming out the other side as a happy, proud autistic man.
And for a long time, you participated in something called masking.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Well, what I used to do, I remember it so vividly, and sometimes I still have to fight the urge almost to do it, is whenever I was at school, this was primary school and secondary school, I would have sat back and looked at people's mannerisms, whether it's their own, like their touch, the way they greet people, the way they wave, the way they use their hands when they speak. And I used to mimic that to try and pass myself off as one of them, whether that be in interests or discussion or being in a group setting. I was just so kind of awkward internally, and I just so desperately wanted to join in. And I just covered up that true self that I had. It was like I developed a character that I brought around with me everywhere, and over time the character that I had developed became more and more destructive and worked against me less. I mean, then I was, I suppose, somewhat of the class clown, and I mean now, even as a grown man, I still am. I just don't get in trouble for it anymore. Whenever I speak to groups or do any kind of speaking tour stuff, I'm full of jokes and laughs about times gone by. And I look back at my childhood a lot more fondly now than what I did in my early 20s. And it's really helped me. I have a great relationship with Ethan now, who sadly I haven't seen as much of since the whole COVID lockdown. He's up with his mother. So we keep in contact. And really, the book came about because Ethan knows that I'm not like him. Ethan's not autistic. We're not like each other. We both live in different universes, him and I. I'm in my autistic universe. He's in what people would call the neurotypical universe. And it's nice getting kind of glimpses into his universe. And I like letting him into mine now, whereas in the past I didn't because I was so ashamed of it. So we really get on. We're quite the odd couple, him and I, but it works.
I love it. And you credit a lot of the things, the change that happened to you in the book, to cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes.
And you know, that's something that we talk a little bit on the show. I've gone through cognitive behavioral therapy for anxiety, and I'm a big fan of it too, but it really helped you. Is that right?
Oh yes, it did. And really, what it didn't do, and I remember this is a bit. It's a bit of a nugget of gold that I did. That's not in the book. I did take it out, but when I'd gone through a couple of therapists before that, and I wasn't really a good fit. But whenever I had met the one that had got into the book, and there was a line, and I only remember her saying it after the book was printed, which was, I mean, I'm not here. Cognitive behavioral therapy is not to change your life. It's to change the way you look at it. And the way it was compared to me was, there's like a road less traveled, which is a bit more overgrown, and there's a familiar, well-trodden path, and we automatically in our brains go down the well-trodden path, no matter how negative that might be. So it was kind of working together to get that positive frame of mind, that mindset to look at my past more fondly, so that I could move forward.
Well, the big question that I have for you is that for so much of your adult life, you were, as you said, masking, trying to not have people see who you really were. And then you came to this realization. And now you've written this book where all these things that you were hiding are out there for everyone, for your coworkers, for Ethan's mom to read, for your mom to read, for all these friends that you have now to read. Has it changed your life having people read the book and understand all the thoughts that you're having?
Absolutely, it has. Even my closest friends and family have said, we didn't think that you had that perspective. And I didn't tell a lot of people anyway. I didn't habitually, like now at the minute, I wave the I'm autistic flag. I'm so proud of it. I'd nearly tell strangers on the street. I sell tickets to my own live shows and sell my books, and I'm so proud of it. But people, whenever they read the book for the first time, they were just blown away at this perspective that I'd had my whole life. I mean, my parents knew to a certain degree the way I worked, and the people very, very close to me knew what way I worked, but not in the in-depth level that is in the book. So they learned so much about me too.
Yeah, I can only imagine. My goodness, has it helped? It seems like you have a really good relationship with your son's mom, with Ethan's mom, but did it help her? Have you guys had a conversation since she read the book where she was like, oh, okay, now I understand what you were going through?
To a certain extent, yes. I mean, like, she has read it, of course, and we talked around the time of the writing of the book, and I mean it's more impacting her in the way when people talk to her about it whenever Ethan is there, because Ethan's almost like a minor celebrity. Like people want to photograph and talk to Ethan more than me, even. So he's like, Ethan's a real character. Like Ethan's a real media sweetheart. He has a Hollywood smile. I'm so jealous of him. He's just a natural when it comes to these things. I'll tell you actually a funny story. Ethan and I were in a fast food restaurant that has famous golden arches one day. So we're sitting there, and Ethan goes, "Oh!" And I said, "Ethan, what is it?" And he pointed over, and there was someone, the most surreal thing, whenever you see someone in public sitting reading your book, right? And he pointed over, and he was like, and I said, "Ethan, don't." And then I looked away, and I looked away for 1 second and looked back over, and there was Ethan beside the lady pointing over at me. "That's my daddy's book. That's my daddy's book." And I was like,
I'm so glad he did that, though. Did the person completely freak out and go, "Oh my goodness, I'm reading your life"? Did they? I'm so glad that he pointed it out, because for that person, it had to have been the thrill of a lifetime.
Yeah, whenever he saw it, I had seen it a couple of times already, but I wouldn't approach anybody. I wouldn't be like, "Hello," I wouldn't do that. It's not my makeup, but it's certainly in his, and he knew that it's not in mine. So he went over, and yeah, the lady was quite flabbergasted. She was like, "Ah, that's you too," and I was like, "No, that's not."
I'm sure she was like, "I am touring the inside of your head right now," because that is what the book is, you guys. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but show the book again so that they can see and recognize it. If you'd hold it up, Jude. And so it's available on Amazon right now, you guys. You can get it as on Kindle. But Why Does Daddy Always Look So Sad? If you have a kiddo who's on the autism spectrum, you're going to want to read it to see what it's like to be inside somebody's head. If you have a teenager or an adult who's on the autism spectrum who's thinking about becoming a parent, you're going to want to give it to them, because I think it's going to be a real eye-opener for them. They're not going to feel so alone. This is a really important book, Jude. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today and for writing the book.
And thank you so much for having me. And for anybody that has any questions while they read the book, reach out to me through judemorrow.com or judemorrowbooks@gmail.com or my Facebook page. So I answer them all. And
Wonderful.
Thank you for having me on as well.
Jude, thank you so much for this great book. And I hope you get to see Ethan soon. I hope this all settles down and you get to be with him. Yes. You're a great dad. Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Jude, for being with us.
Okay.
Bye. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.